Hello, beautiful souls. Long time no. Hello, hello, hello. Delighted to be here. Making a video sharing some things that I hope are helpful. I have wondered for a long time um, about the benefits of Neo-Advaita. To anyone who's dropped by this channel, you know I've talked a little bit about the harms of Neo-Advaita. But I've often wondered, is there any benefit? And of course, there's some benefit. I mean, uh, my one of my deepest convictions is that all things serve the good. That God, the divine, would not allow something that's all evil or completely meaningless or completely harmful. We have the expression, the silver lining in a rain cloud, that everything has a silver lining. You know, and I was so angry and hurt and upset uh, and impassioned, really, about Neo-Advaita that I was like, not consciously, but I was kind of like, everything has a silver lining, except Neo-Advaita, except this one particular. Look at that! I got a fist up. Wasn't even conscious. Except that one Neo-Advaita teacher. But I kind of knew that was, not the full story, bullshit, and just kind of a reaction. And I've taken some space from all of it, and I've taken space from focusing on that one teacher. And I've really started to reflect on what are the benefits of Neo-Advaita? What are the pluses, right? And God bless the universe, because I was going through one of my email accounts, and a while ago I put out my email account for anyone who had direct information about the harms of a particular guru, and I just found this amazing letter. So I'm going to read it. Hi, I'm not going to name the person's name, but hi, I just want to thank you for your courage and integrity in making the recent videos concerning the blank, a particular teacher, the blank movement, and Neo-Advaita. You have expressed something I had long been noticing concerning blank, the teacher, this particular teacher, and the whole Neo-Advaita movement. And I like to say, I'm not mentioning teachers' names because I found it isn't helpful. Unless we're talking about direct abuse that I have proof of, I don't find it helpful to mention particular teachers' names anymore. My energy is directed towards educating people about fake non-duality and true non-duality, and then they can figure out whether a particular teacher is fake or true. I'll continue reading the letter. I've been on the path for a long time and had a regular Buddhist meditation practice and other spiritual practices for many years, which led to a full-on awakening around 10 years ago. It was at that point I attended a blank retreat. Nothing blank said during the retreat was of any real use. I think this person means use to them. And the person continues. My mind was already in stillness for much of the time anyway. And I remember he spoke a lot about his childhood trauma. And it felt to me that there was a lot he hadn't dealt with. Spiritual bypass. We're going to come back to that. I had intended to go up and ask him some questions, but something stopped me. And I feel that this was right, as it eventually became clear to me that this was not a genuinely awakened master. He mentioned it as like a play that he puts on. And that was my exact impression. It was very surreal, like watching something that was staged for effect and arranged to look like a scene out of the Bible. My thoughts were that I had been to a blank, the teacher's name, that I had been to a blank concert. LOL. That's right. The guru's a rock star. Let's worship him. So funny. I have seen many people taken in by the whole thing. Some people with genuine awakenings have gone to him, and these people, like myself, were already right. An awakening was happening anyway. So the awakening was nothing to do with anything blank was teaching. I must admit, however, when I was going through a very challenging time, I listened to his videos for a while, and they did seem to help in some way to get through some of the challenges that were presenting themselves as my life began to deconstruct. After a while, I began to feel physically nauseous whenever I listened to his videos and had to stop abruptly and have not been able to listen to him since. So we're going to come back to that. Benefits and nauseousness, that's where I'm at, and I'm not the only one. There are many people who feel that way. I don't know about I can't say many. I'm not the only one. Apparently, I'm not the only one, and I know a couple other people too who have that experience. Because I had previously followed a Buddhist path, I hadn't even realized at the time that what blank was teaching. You just got to give this person. Let's call this person Gary. It's not their real name. Realized that at this time that what Gary was teaching was Neo-Advaita. Maybe some of those Gary videos could be useful for some people further on the path who just need that little nudge towards the self, but harmful to others, particularly those new to the spiritual path. With enlightenment, religion, religion and paths are transcended. And this seems to be where people are tripping up. Because Gary is considered enlightened, it follows that what he is teaching must be the same way for everyone to be enlightened. At least that seems to be what his devotees believe, yet he has such limited knowledge of the whole path and of the role of awakened Kundalini as well in taking people to self-realization and enlightenment. I don't know how useful talking to a journalist would be regarding the behavior of Gary, as often opposition just strengthens people's blind devotion to and defense of a person like Gary. There is no doubt that he subtly and not so subtly encourages the worship of himself. When I met him, I felt a kind of dissociation in him, as if he was not all there. But he was very charismatic once he was on stage doing his thing. I understand there are people who have been harmed by the whole Muji Neo-Advaita movement and are now in recovery. If there's any way I can be of assistance to anyone, I am open to that. Warmest regards, namaste, in this person's name. So I'm going to reach out to this person and see what their offer is, how to help people recover. Very touched by this letter. So I'm going to go back and highlight a few things. I love, first of all, hearing this person's first-person account. I love that this is a person who already really had, maybe not the full fruits, but it sounds like the majority of the fruit of the Advaita Vedanta path, which is a still mind. I think this is the first person who really has that, who's been willing to share their experience. So it's very helpful. Thank you. The Gary concert, that's funny. Spiritual bypass. So I didn't know that about this teacher, but he has early childhood trauma, and I bet you that most Neo-Advaita teachers and most people who are hardcore about Neo-Advaita, like I have friends who are just like, they're kind of into it. They go to a satsang every now and then. They talk about it every now and then, but it's not the central focus of their life. But I would be willing to bet that almost everyone for whom it becomes a central focus has some kind of childhood trauma or something they're trying to, a pain they're trying to escape from, run away from. That's just my hunch. I can't prove it. I know I was one of them. So I love that this person shared that some of Gary's videos were helpful to her during rough spots, and that's what I've wondered. Someone else posted that something that this teacher had shared helped them deal with a particular part of the spiritual path. So I'd like to thank Gary. I'd like to thank Gary for helping out the person who wrote this email, and thank Gary for helping out the person who left me a comment a while ago that something Gary had told this person helped them deal with their feelings that they had been possessed by something evil or negative. And Gary had given them some teachings on that, and it's been really helpful. So Thank you, Gary. Maybe I'll rename this video to Thanks, Neo-Advaita. Yeah, I've been wondering that myself. This person says maybe some of the Gary videos could be useful for some people further on the path. We just need that little nudge towards the self. I wonder. If nothing else, now we can open the dialogue about, now that Neo-Advaita has been deconstructed and shown to not be Advaita Vedanta, now maybe we can look at some of the benefits of it. Charismatic. So this person's experience was that Gary was very charismatic once on stage, and that the whole thing seemed like an act. And that's the thing. Naturalness versus ritual. Most of these satsangs are highly structured, but if it just feels kind of natural, that's a good indicator. And this letter points out what most of us fell for, whether it was Gary or some other teacher. Like, first we believe that teacher is enlightened, and then we jump to the conclusion. First of all, we jump to the conclusion that they're enlightened. Then we jump to the conclusion, oh, because they're enlightened, they can lead me there. And my experience, and many people's experience, and this person's experience, and hang out with a Neo-Advaita teacher for 20 years and let me know how it goes. I think you'll be reporting the same experience, is it's actually going to do more harm than good. And we've noticed here there is a little good that can happen. So I appreciate this person's offer to be of help, and I will clarify with them what they're looking for, what they're offering. And I've been starting to feel a calling myself to do coaching or maybe become an LMFT and help people recover from cults and from fake spirituality. As I've said many times, Neo-Advaita and fake spirituality took me to the brink of suicide multiple times. And let's not miss words. Fake spirituality is deadly if you take it seriously. If you don't take it seriously, it's like reading a Hallmark card, right? Like, a Hallmark card has some wisdom in it. You probably can't live your life by it, but same thing with Neo-Advaita. It's got some wisdom in it. And in little doses, can be really helpful. Could point you in the right direction. And as the person who wrote this letter said, could actually be helpful in certain places and certain times. So, see if there's anything else I want to say. So, yeah. So, let's liken it to supplements. Let's liken it to food. Actually, let's liken it to food. You eat the wrong food, it can be deadly, right? Food not properly taken care of, not properly. Let's take it down to something like supplements. The right supplement can be really helpful, but same thing. It's kind of this trap of like, everything that is spiritual is good, or everything that's alternative holistic is good. It's just not the case. Hey, Jane, you're welcome. Aloha. It's just not the case. Just because something gets the label spiritual doesn't make it spiritual. Just because something is not a chemical or non-osteopathic medicine. Non-Western medicine doesn't mean it's good. Alternative, holistic, and spiritual do not equal good. There's many things that fall under those categories that are very harmful. Scientology claims it's spiritual. People say Scientology is a spiritual path. A great one is SAMI, the supplement SAMI. For some people, night and day taking Sammy. And for people with bipolar, it can drive you nuts. It can drive you absolutely nuts. Full-on manic episodes if you take too high a dose, and you kind of have that tendency. So sad to see, it's kind of like, I left behind religion and I was like, oh, religion bad, spirituality good. It's not that simple. There's a lot of good in religion. There's a lot of bad in spirituality. And Neo-Advaita is very much a highlight of that. A lot of bad. And now here on this channel, maybe we can take a little time and look at some of the good. Thanks for saying hi, Jane. Aloha from the Big Island. I love the Big Island. Been there many times, thought of moving there. If anyone of the live viewers has any questions or comments, feel free to type them in. And I'll take a last look at this letter. Yeah, everything I want to say. I'll just give another pause if anyone else wants to chime in. And lastly, God bless Neo-Advaita. It's introduced a large group of people to the idea that it's possible to be at peace always, which I consider to be one of the supreme truths of life and one of the most important things to strive for that, to recognize that's even possible. Most people think that's impossible. So thank you, Neo-Advaita, and thank you, Gary G. Shri Gary G. for pointing us towards Advaita Vedanta, which teaches that true freedom and true peace is actually possible. Take care. Much love. And thank you so much to the person who wrote the letter.